Hey everyone, and welcome back. So now it's time to look at the new Nintendo Switch games coming out for this week. And although it's a slightly quieter week on the eShop than usual, we've still got some really high quality games coming out for this week. So just as usual, we're going to take a look at the trailers, we're going to see what games are coming out and what games you should keep on your tracker for this week. Just as usual, if you are liking the content, make sure to hit that like button. Now, if we jump into our first game for this week, it is going to be While Waiting, that is coming out on February 5th, so it might already be out when you're watching this video. It'll be selling for $19.99. Now, this is a puzzle game with a very innovative design, and it has me really intrigued for this week. I do think that this game has a potential to be a stellar puzzle game. However, it is one of those games that I definitely think you should wait for a review or two because it could flip the other way around as well. But the design seems extremely interesting. Let's take a look at the trailer and then we'll come back with some more comments. And there's a cat. Come on, guys. There's a cat. It has a really weird concept where it says you can do nothing or you can participate in the puzzle, which I'm really interested in seeing how that actually works out. Now, I'm pretty sure that this song is going to be copyrighted. So if I do have to mute this trailer, you can check out the links down below for the full trailer. There's a very strong likelihood I'm going to have to copyright the song because it's one of those classic songs that I'm pretty sure is going to be copyrighted. So like I said, While Waiting, now it is really, I'm trying to wrap my brain around what this game is going to be like. But I think it's one of those concepts. It reminds me a little bit of the Goose Game, okay? Where the overall package, you're like, what the heck is this whole game about? And it ends up being just so addicting and so charismatic as a package that the game ends up being like a love letter to some people. But I do think we're going to have to wait and see. But I have this funny feeling that this could be a breakout game. Do wait for a couple of reviews or whatnot, but definitely have it on your radar because I think this one could be a breakout game for this year. And it could be maybe our first really surprise hit. Now, let's take a look at our next game. Now, our next game is probably going to be the biggest game for this week. And that is Sid Meier's Civilization 7 that is coming out on February 6th. Now, there is a little bit of a, in my opinion, what I'm going to call a slight controversy around this game. The thing is that this week on the 6th, you can pick up the deluxe pack of the game for $89.99 or the biggest edition of the game for $119.99. Now, there is a regular edition of the game that will be $59.99, so that's $60 price point. But the problem is that game is coming out next week on the 11th. I really hate when companies do this. I really hate when companies make you pay extra to play the game early, but also force you to play, like, to buy the deluxe pack. Like, it's not only early access, is that if you want to play the game this week, you have to buy the deluxe pack. You can't buy the base version of the game. I don't like when companies do that. It is not exactly what I would call a controversy. By the way, thank you so much for the gifted sub, Frenchie Mom. Um, it is not exactly what I would call a controversy. I just don't like it. I know a lot of companies and games now do early access. I don't think Civilization needs to do that. I think Civilization is one of those game packages out there that you're already going to have the massive fan base buying the deluxe pack and the extra packs and the big pack for people that just want access to all the contents, all the different civilizations and whatnot, which are included in the game. But so it just makes it leaves me with a bad taste in my mouth when on top of it, they want to sort of mix like an early access into this. But all that aside, I think it's going to be an excellent strategy game. Civilization is probably one of the longest running strategy franchises out there. Civilization 6 was a great game on the Nintendo Switch. This one looks to be phenomenal. And I do think it's going to have an upgrade on the Switch 2 visually, but already I don't think this is going to be very hard for the Switch to run. We're going to see when it comes out to make sure. But let's take a look at the trailer and we'll get more into it after. Graphically, it doesn't look that far off from Civilization 6. Honestly, I think Japan is one of my favorite civilizations to play as. See, because even here, they're giving you February 11th, but they're not letting you know that, hey, if you pay the big price, you can get it on February 6th. Now, by the way, in next week's video, I will give this a quick notice that the game is also coming out, the regular edition, on the 11th, but we're not going to go as deep into it as this week. So if you don't see it in next week's video, it's just because we're covering it this week. But look, Civilization 7 looks great. They look to be adding in a lot of new mechanics in there. They make it deeper each and every time. I do think they've done a lot also to make it more newcomer friendly, especially in the last like 2 or 3 entries. So hopefully this one keeps the same trend up. But if you've never played a strategy game like Civilization and you like a turn-based gameplay system, almost like a board game, I definitely think you should try out Civilization. If you're sort of on the fence, Civilization 6 is on sale for almost $5 sometimes. Pick up 6, try it out. If you love it, grab 7 after that. I always think that's a great strategy when you have an ongoing series like this, especially knowing that the previous entry, you can pick it up for almost peanuts right now. So we have Sid Meier's Civilization. I don't like the pricing scheme that if you want it for this week, you have to pay $89.99 or $119.99. But for the fanatics of the series, you're probably already planning on buying the big pack. So it's not going to be a stretch for some. I just wish they just launched a $59.99 version at the same time. There's no reason not to. And just let people who want to buy the base version buy the base version. Okay. That brings us right away to our next game, which is for me probably the game that has me most excited for this week, and that is Momodora Moonlit Farewell, which is another pixel art Metroidvania. Yes, I know we've covered a lot of Metroidvanias this year, but look, they are stellar so far. And this one seems like it's going to be another really great entry. At least I have my fingers crossed. And currently, this is the game that is leader for our gameplay stream on Thursday. Now, it is going to be Thursday rather than Friday this week for people that do want to show up, but this is the leader so far for the stream this week. Now, this game is also coming out on February 6th. February 6th is going to be a big day for this week, and the regular price is $16.99. Currently, pre-order discount setting it at $15.29. Not a huge pre-order discount, but I do like the pricing on this one. Under $20, almost at the $15 price point. And when you're going to see the quality of the pixel art, I do think that it matches up very nicely with what they're offering as a package. Obviously, hopefully, the game will turn out to play good as well, but I do think we have a ton of potential here. It's coming from a company that generally puts out pretty decent games. So let's take a look at the trailer. And I love it because it's beautiful pixel art, but it's not like copying Hollow Knight or anything like that. It has its own vibe to it. The movement looks really, really good. And I'm looking forward to seeing what the ability system is going to be like. And there we have it, Momodora Moonlight Farewell. Like I said, for a Metroidvania under $20, if this one can manage to deliver some solid gameplay, I think we're going to have a really good game on our hands here. And if you're a fan of Metroidvanias, like I said, you've been spoiled so far for this year. If you haven't seen it yet, but we've played like 3 excellent Metroidvanias already this year, like games that are almost at a 9 out of 10 each and every one of them. So we're being spoiled for this year. And we just might get spoiled again this week with Momodora Moonlight Farewell. Like I said, February 6th, and it'll be selling for $16.99. Definitely keep it on your radar if you're a Metroidvania fan. I do think we're going to have something pretty interesting. Next, we have a game that has me very, very interested from the co-op perspective. We have Big Helmet Heroes. Now, this one, I am sort of on the fence, though, because it looks so much fun, but it also could have performance issues on the Switch. I am slightly worried for this one. But basically, it is a 3D beat-em-up, very centered around co-op gameplay, very centered about like funny visuals, and obviously the name says it itself, Big Helmet Heroes. All your heroes have huge oversized heads, but this is a beat-em-up adventure game. If the performance is good, this could be a really great time with some friends. Let's take a look at the trailer. By the way, this one is coming out on February 6th as well. It'll be selling for $24.99. A little bit more on the pricier side. So this one, you're going to want to make sure that the performance is on point before picking it up. But check it out. I'm pretty sure we're going to get some gameplay videos right on release date. I wish I had time to play it on release day. I will try to pick it up, but most likely it won't be the Thursday game. Like, you can play this alone, and I most likely am going to play it alone, but I do think you're going to have so much more fun in co-op. I'm going to try to get one of my kids to play with me. I'm going to try to get my youngest daughter to play with me and beat up some monsters together. Unfortunately, I won't be seeing my brother over the next couple of weeks, most likely, so I have to try to recruit one of the youngins. Teach them what real gaming is about. Man, I love that. You see, he picked up his friend and threw him over the side. So that's like one of those games that looks like you can actually hurt your friend as well. And although that can be frustrating, it was one of the greatest things about the original Double Dragon. Now, I'm a bit worried because, like I said, graphically it's a 3D game. We know that Switch can sometimes have some issues. There seems to be a lot of high res environments. The thing, however, is that the chibi-esque animation, the chibi-esque designs also sometimes really work well with the Switch. So that could maybe come in and save it on the other end. But I do think this game is going to be a ton of fun. Like I said, however, I do think it's going to be primarily directed towards people that want to play in local co-op. But I do think Big Helmet Heroes looks like fun. $24.99, however, is a little bit expensive, especially when we look at the beat 'em up scene right now, what you can get for $24.99. However, I would say this is a definite one that I would keep an eye on for a sale. If it hits around that like $15 price point, and it has a decent performance, it could be an excellent pickup for this week. Great. So now let's take a look at our next game. Now this game also has me very intrigued. It is called Moons of Darsalon, and it is also releasing on February 6th. Like I said, February 6th this week is going to be a big day, and it is selling for $17.99. Now, this seems to be a retro-styled but a platformer, 2D platformer, but it has some very modern design elements to it. And it seems to have some pretty funky gameplay at parts. Now, I do think this could be another one that could be a surprise hit on the Nintendo Switch. It actually came out earlier on PC. I did not have a chance to check out the reviews on PC, but the trailer itself captivated me enough that I was going to show it either way. So let's take a look at Moons of Darsalon and see why this game could maybe be very promising. It almost feels like Pikmin-ish, where he has like other characters following him and he's giving them orders. And the art style, although it's heavily pixelated, has a charm to it. And these vehicles are what's intriguing me a lot. Once again, if the trailer gets muted, links will be down below. This music might be copyrighted, but I don't know. The retro modern astronaut style as well that they've given to the characters are pretty freaking fantastic. It looks like it's coming from the 1960s, but at the same time like modern as well. So I love the visual presentation here. And like I said, there seems to be parts of the gameplay that seem straightforward action platforming, others that you seem to be commanding other units almost in a Pikmin-like style, and then finally to wrap it up, like you drive around these crazy vehicles. So I do think that, once again, this could be a surprise hit for this week. It's a recurring theme so far, but could be a surprise hit for this week. $17.99 also can be a very fair price. Once again, under that $20 price point, which I think is so important for some of these indie games to get people to take a chance. I think that $20 price point has become like a mental block for a lot of people for taking a chance. Okay, then we get to another game coming out on February 6th. Now, this one is another game that I will definitely be playing. It is Under Defeat that is coming out on February 6th, as I mentioned. It'll be $19.99. Now, this is the remake of a shoot 'em up We'll call it a shoot 'em up, but it also has a pretty original gameplay style, and it is done by a company that has remade Gimmick 2. They've done a lot of really phenomenal remakes lately. So that's why I say I'm definitely going to play this one, because Gimmick and Gimmick 2 actually surprised me a ton. And so I sort of have like this odd confidence in this company knows how to modernize these retro formats or these retro ideas and come up with a really great game. So like I said, February 6th for $19.99. Let's take a look at the trailer. It's like a top-down view, but not pure top-down. And you're flying a helicopter that can move in 8 directions. So it's not only left to right, you also can angle sorry about that. You also can angle your helicopter. I'm trying to remember the name of the game on PS1 that this reminds me of, but there was a game on PS1, although it was more from a over-the-shoulder perspective, that you were flying around a sort of helijet, and it reminds me somewhat of that. Although this seems to have linear, like, shoot-'em-up levels to it. So we have Under Defeat. I think if you're a shoot 'em up fan, this one can be a great game for this week. And I am a shoot 'em up fan. If you've been following the channel for a while, you'll know I love smashing through a shoot 'em up when I have a few hours to kill. And this one looks like it could have a ton of potential. Now, you might want to wait on a review more to see, number one, performance-wise on the Switch, how it is, and where it is in the difficulty spectrum. Like, is this an approachable one if you're just a casual fan of shoot-'em-ups, or did they remake it like an old-school arcade game with a limited number of lives, and you'll be tearing your hair out trying to get through the game? You might want to wait for that aspect to come out, but I have a feeling that they're going to make it approachable. Most of their latest remakes, and I'm taking the Gimmick series again, they had 2 difficulty modes, one for the hardcore gamers and one that really made it approachable for newcomers. So yeah, Jungle Strike would be a very good comparison, like a modernized Jungle Strike gives a good feeling. It's not the game I had in mind from the PS1 era, but it's maybe even a better comparison, however. So Under Defeat is going to be, I think, a great game for shoot 'em up fans for this week. Now, we have my long shot of the week. So if you've been watching these videos for a while, you know I like to take a chance on a smaller game that maybe a lot of people are going to overlook, but I think that this one could have a really nice potential, and that is Genome Guardian. That is coming out also on February 6th, but this one will be selling for only $11.99, and it is basically a roguelite turret shooter. So let's take a look at the trailer. I think we need a visual before I get into the particulars here. It'll help a lot explaining the game. The visual design is so funky. I'm loving it. And it seems to be a very big variety of gameplay modes. Now, there's also a lot of questions that are coming from this trailer that I'll talk to you about. I'm seeing some comments. This looks fun. This looks funky. It does. It does. And I'm not joking. Like, I think that... Okay. Now, I just want to be clear here. Basically, I have a lot of questions too, because as you can see, there seems to be shifting gameplay modes. Like sometimes you're a turret shooter where basically it's almost like a shoot 'em up. Other times there was brick breaking gameplay where you're like basically bouncing bricks around, like here. Other times you're like gobbling things up, like you're playing like oh, this is the standard shoot 'em up level, like rather than a centered one. Other times, like here, you're like gobbling up all these things. Now, apparently, the roguelike function is that you're going to be evolving. You're basically going to be investing in different DNA strands, and that's why your main character keeps changing its appearance. Because depending on what DNA strands you're going to be investing in, it's going to be changing your character's perspective and how he acts. However, what I'm wondering is, do the levels shift to the choices you make? Or do you have to make your choices to adapt to the levels that are presented to you? That's where I think that's the big question I'm asking here. Like, if you evolve in a certain way, is that going to impact which levels you're going to get? Because you're going to become like a character that's really good at one thing, so the game's going to challenge you with levels of that type. Or is it more that you have to see what the next level the game is going to give you, and you're going to have to choose your evolutions to be able to complete that level? But I think this one could be, once again, a ton of fun, and I'm gonna try really hard to play it. It's a stretch because, like I said, I already have like Momodora on my list. I really want to play under Defeat, and then if I have time, I want to play Genome Guardian. But there's also another game on this list, which is our last game for this week, that I would really like to try out. So it's a packed week of games that I'm like, dude, there are so many like interesting games, but games that are leaving me with questions that I feel like I have to play to answer. But Genome Guardian, $11.99. If you want to take a shot for this week, if you want to take a risk, I feel like this is the place to go. Now, last and not least, we have the Soul game coming out on February 7th on today's list. We have Macross Shooting in Sight. Now, this game is coming out February 7th, as I said. However, it's going to be the most expensive game as well, other than Civilization. It'll be selling for $39.99. Now, if you're familiar with the Macross series, it is a mecha series from Japan with a transforming jet piloted by expert pilots. So the jet has 3 modes. It has like a robot mode that looks somewhat like, a robot that basically shoots and can fly. Then it has a jet mode, which is like for maximum maneuverability and speed. And it has an in-between mode where there's like a jet with legs hanging out under it, which allows it to do like it's like in between the two, and it allows it to basically maneuver very close to the ground and have those legs available for maneuvering. Now, I loved Macross. I used to watch the anime, so yes, Robotech. I'd have to remember if Robotech is the same, because I know that some of them were crossovers and some of them weren't. Not sure if Robotech was a crossover with Macross, but Macross overall, super excited for this one as well. The gameplay looks, once again, very original. It's another shoot 'em up, but this one varies depending on what mode you're in. So it has me very interested, and I'm wondering if the game is going to force you into these modes, or when you switch modes, is the game gonna switch like which vision or which gameplay style it's giving you. I'm really wondering which one of the two is going to be the dominant, but let's take a look at the trailer and you'll understand what I'm talking about. See, because they tell you that there's the 3 modes. So you see you had horizontal. Yeah. So I'm really wondering, is it you, like, Do you get to a level and then like, oh, in this one you're in mecha mode, oh, in this one you're in jet mode? Or is it like if you switch from mecha to jet mode, like the screen's going to turn around and you're going to get the top down view? I'm really wondering how it's going to work. So there we have Macross Shooting Insight, which will be our last highlighted game for this week. But seriously, if you're a fan of the old Macross anime, I do think you'll have a serious interest in this. I am worried about how the gameplay will play out because, like I said, I don't know if it's dominant. If the game forces you into the different modes, I feel it's going to defeat the purpose of having the transforming plane, because the whole point of having the transforming plane is deciding when you transform it into the different modes. But at the same time, I can maybe see structurally for the game, it might work better that way. I'm just hoping that there's going to be some surprises here. I definitely want to see some gameplay for this one. I'm going to try and play it if I have time. But once again, as I just went over in the previous game, the list is loaded for this week. So that was our Switch game. Those were our Switch games for this week. So hopefully you found something you're going to like on today's list. If not, we've always got that backlog that is ready to jump into. You can check out the latest eShop deals video because we've got a ton of games on sale as well. As usual, I also want to know, do you think I missed out on any games coming out this week that I didn't highlight that you think are worth a highlight? Let me know in the comments down below. You can also let me know what you thought of the games, which one you preferred the most out of the list. And as usual, I'll see all of you in my next video.